shed tears of flood when we went off. Well, we're back, dude. I'm back. Okay? Def Leppard were seemingly at the peak of their career in 1984, selling 6 million copies of their album Pyromania. And they stalled behind Michael Jackson's Thriller at the top of the charts. But, Rick Allen did the job. He had an accident, lost his arm, but he practiced and went back playing drums, and they went up again with that song. Rival. In 2007, that was the time that he got back, and up to now, he's still a hot stuff in the U.S. of A. And, well, I don't know in the Philippines, but his album is moving, and he's moving. You're listening in to the Triggerman on Retro 105.9 DCGFM, and somebody asked, what happened to, I did not explain so clearly what happened to Def Leppard. Well, okay, the guys were making millions and tons of, selling millions of copies back in 1984, okay, with their album Pyromania. And, when you're at the top of the charts, logic would dictate striking again while the iron was hot. But just as they were recovering to record the follow-up, drummer Rick Allen was involved in a street race which ended in a severe car wreck, which resulted in him losing his entire left arm. Ouch. And most band would have said, sorry, mate, and hired a new drummer, to their post-haste. To their external credit, the rest of the band insisted that Allen was still a drummer and bided their time, passing up untold millions in record sales from a speedy follow-up while Allen recovered from the physical and psychological effects of this accident. Well, 3 years later, Steve Lagrano, okay? Mr. Mar Anthony birthday, February 6th. I'll be here on that day, hopefully. Okay, so there you go with our 14th artist, John Fogerty Revival. Number 15 was Def Leppard. Let's continue with our countdown.
On the Triggerman's Top 20, Retro 105.9. Number 13.
I got, Ozzy Osbourne. After leaving Black Sabbath on a less than positive note, many thought Ozzy Osbourne's career was over. Well, steeped in drug addiction and contending with management, Osbourne instead went about proving his detractors wrong. Well, I'll tell you more about it, how he was able to recover from that. Let's play a song from this dude. Even up to now, he's doing the song. It's called Iron Man. The top 20 at 12. Let me just reiterate what I just said earlier, since somebody asked about Ozzy Osbourne. He's a superstar now, right? And he owes this to one particular person. He was kicked out of Black Sabbath back in 1979 for unreliability and substance abuse problems. Ozzy laid low in Los Angeles, but his future wife, Sharon, picked him up off the floor, steered him towards the first of a dozen visits to rehab, and help him assemble a new band, which he emphatically refused to call Son of Sabbath. His 1980 debut solo album, Blizzard of Oz, sold 4 million copies and rebranded a bat-chomping Charlie Sheen of hard rock from broken-down drug casualty to perennial poster boy for success through excess. Winner, right? And I have to salute Sharon for doing a magnificent job, not surrendering, not giving up on his love. Just helped him. And now, where's Ozzy Osbourne? On top of the world. You're with the Triggerman on Retro 105.9 DCGFM. It's the top 20 comeback artist. That was number 13, Ozzy Osbourne, and we're in at number 12. Well, there's a good story about this one, okay? After a solid commercial run in the late 70s, the folksy hard rockers led by Seattle siblings Ann and Nancy Wilson found their star in decline. And their solution involved changing record labels, bringing in outside songwriters, and intensive deployment of weapons-grade hairspray. Well, thanks to a glossy hair metal makeover, Heart were reborn as an AOR hit machine on their self-titled 1985 album. A U.S. chart topper loaded with MTV-friendly power ballads. Well, here's one of the good songs when they were able to make it good on a comeback. Heart, All I Want to Do Is Make Love to You.
Number 11.
Triggerman. Top 20 at 12.
Red Hot Chili Peppers at number 11. Well, 91. The band finally managed to be mainstream after the guys released their fifth album. But this was the song that made it big for them on a comeback. This is Californiaication. I'll tell you more about it in minutes, but for now, listen.
Psychic spies from China try to steal
Triggerman.
Demon Californiaication.
You always thought that they were high on the charts, right? Forever they were, you thought. But no. In 1991, the band finally managed to go mainstream after the guys released their fifth album, a brilliant record called Blood, Sugar, Sex, Magic. And thanks to several hits, including the beautiful Under the Bridge, the funky song Give It Away, and they became one of the most prominent figures of the music industry. However, their popularity did not last long. The band's genius, eccentric and young guitarist John Frusciante, he was only 21 years old when he recorded Blood, Sugar, Sex, and Magic. He left the group and isolated himself from the mainstream music scene. Instead, he decided to record some low-budget psychedelic solo albums. His drug addiction made his isolation even worse. Well, Red Hot Chili Peppers, or RHCP on the other hand, struggled to find a new guitarist for a while. And after several attempts, after narrowing it down and hiring more people, they finally hired David Navarro. Well, he was definitely a nice guitarist. What he played with Jane's Addiction was basically alternative rock, and his later career showed that he was also capable of playing industrial metal. Well, despite these differences, the band recorded one album, One Hot Minute in 1995. And, there was a song there, My Friends and Aeroplane, but they were not really so good. And they went on a tour, and the tour wasn't a success either. Drugs was another issue there. At one point, the band even decided to break up, but in the end, it was Dave Navarro who had to leave the band. So that was the perfect moment for RHCP and for Frusciante to get together, to reconcile. And the band needed to be successful again. So Frusciante was there. In 1998, Frusciante returned to the band. After a 6-year break, they released that song that we played, their masterpiece called Californiaication in 1999. Yes, they were still not the guys who wrote all these crazy songs in the 80s, but at least currently, they are writing real solid songs, unlike the period of David Navarro. Okay.
On the Triggerman's Top 20, Retro 1059. Number 10.
Torn apart again by drug addiction and internal friction, 70s blues rock survivors Aerosmith seemed like a spent force by the early 80s. But a new record deal with Geffen, a therapeutic trip to rehab, an inspired crossover remake of their own song with a rap flavor gave them new life. Listen to Aerosmith with Run DMC, and this is the way to walk, to recover. You can consider this one of the oddest shots in the arm to a rock band that was flatlining. After several years of infighting, drug abuse, lackluster album sales, it was Run DMC's 1986 hit version of their 1977 track, Walk This Way, which featured Tyler and Perry, that resuscitated their career. It was also instrumental in popularizing the new rap rock subgenre, which spawned more mashups. The next year, Aerosmith released Permanent Vacation, and it became the band's biggest seller in over a decade, with hits such as Dude, Looks Like a Lady, Ragdoll Angel, and they had I Don't Want to Miss a Thing and all that. So things have been rosy for them till these days. You're listening in to Retro 105.9 DCGFM. That was song at number 10. So what's at number 9? I think there are two.
We count down the greatest hits one by one on the Triggerman's Top 20 at 12, Saturdays and Sundays at 12 noon. Number 9.
David Lee Roth left Van Halen back in the early 80s, and many thought the band was done and over with. Well, they were quickly proven wrong when the band reinvented themselves with a new singer. Sammy Hagar, and a string of #1 albums. But the real miracle happened in 2012 when David Lee Roth rejoined Van Halen and bucked the trend of acrimonious for the money reunion that fizzled. Their tour was a success, and the album they recorded was critically acclaimed. That's at number 9 for you, Van Halen, on Retro 105.9 DCG to the FM. And like I said, more hits come in, and are you trying to guess now what could be the #1 song? Well, the #1 song is about, #1 artist is about 40, died about 40 years ago, almost like 40 years ago. Okay, that's a clue for you. I'm your Triggerman, and for all those texting, asking me, why am I here all alone? And where are the others? Well, all you need to do is keep on texting, 0917-356-1059, or go to our website, www.retrodcg.com, dcgfm.com, and ask what you want for. You've asked for something. You asked for the Triggerman, and now the Triggerman's back. They listen. Well, you ask for it, they listen, and they give it to you, okay? So that's how to do it.
Triggerman.
This says at number 8, great comeback from the Green Day, that American Idiot.
Don't wanna be an American idiot.
The punk trio, Green Day. The punk trio became overnight sensation after the release of 1994's major label debut, Dookie. Remember that? And the infamous Mud Fight. You can check that out on YouTube. Seen around the world at Woodstock that same year. 3 albums later, the band still couldn't match the success of the debut album. The band reconvened in 2003 and recorded most of a new album, only to have their master recordings ripped off from the studio. Well, it was that bad. They started from scratch and came up with a concept album with a hard-charging lead single that was a rallying cry for the anti-George Bush sentiment that was prevalent at that time. Well, American Idiot was born. The band went from struggling post-punkers to one of the biggest sellers that year, with millions of albums sold, a huge tour that lasted 2 years, and a Grammy to boot for Best Hard Rock Album. Those are the dudes at number 8, Green Day. And it's called American Idiot, the one that catapulted them back to the pedestal of success and a lot more green paper. Okay, let's move on our countdown right here with the Triggerman.
We count down the greatest hits one by one on the Triggerman's Top 20 at 12, Saturdays and Sundays at 12 noon.
Okay, hold on.
Number 7.
The big run for this guy was back in the 90s, okay? We're big in 77. Can you guess who they are, please? I don't want any lies, okay? Retro 105.9. No, I'm sorry. Retro 105.9. Yeah, that's how it's supposed to be now without the point. Fleetwood Mac at number 7. Fleetwood Mac reached the pinnacle of superstardom with the release of the 77 Rumors. Afterwards, they still managed to release some hit albums, with the 1987's Tango in the Night, which includes this one, being the biggest seller since. However, it wasn't until 1997 when Fleetwood Mac's most successful lineup, consisting of Stevie Nicks, John and Christian McVie, Mick Fleetwood, and the previously departed Lindsey Buckingham, reunited on stage for MTV's The Dance, special at Warner Brothers Studios in Burbank, California. Calif. The live performance later spawned an album of the same name, propelling them into stardom once again. It became Mac's first chart-topping since 1982's Tusk, and it went on to sell over 5 million copies, positioning it as the 5th best-selling live album of all time in the U.S. of A. Now you know that they're the 5th best-selling live album of all time. Speaking of live shows, we intend to bring back, okay, let me spill the beans now. We intend to bring back a live show that we had before. Well, talks are being sort of done now, or arranged for us to be able to come up with that very special retro live show that we used to do before. It's supposed to happen on a Saturday. You remember that? Well, we're bringing it back. And we're bringing this lady back. And she came back in 2005. She was on top of the world in the early 90s. But she seemed to be headed in a downward spiral in the new millennium. Her nasty, much-publicized split with husband, Columbia Records executive Tommy Mottola, left the singer's life in disarray. Yeah.
I didn't mean it when I said I